Hey guys, this is Zack Hample, and we are back right here with part 2 of my autographed ticket stub collection. Now, if you haven't yet seen part 1, what are you doing? I suggest you watch part 1 first, then come back and check this one out. You'll find a link to part 1 in the description for this video. But whether or not you've seen part 1, this one's gonna be a whole lot of fun. What you missed in part 1 was a whole lot of background and context for my collection, and there was a camera angle like this throughout most of the video, where all you saw was my hands reaching in front, flipping through the tickets. We made it from the Angels through the Marlins, going alphabetically. And in this video, we're gonna be focusing on Mets ticket stubs only, because I have so many of them. But if you're not a Mets fan, don't worry, because as I explained in part 1, I don't just get tickets signed by the home team. I get them signed by the visiting teams. So you're gonna see players throughout Major League Baseball, of course, mostly the National League, on these stubs, and there are some superstars in here. So I'm gonna skip ahead. I'm not gonna show every single Met stub, because realistically, how many autographs do you need to see of Eric Hillman, Bobby Jones, Butch Husky? No disrespect to those guys, but there are players in here who are far more accomplished, a bunch of Hall of Famers as well. So this is the part where we switch camera angles, and I reach my hands in front like this, and we get right to it. John Franco, born in Brooklyn. That's how to get the Mets collection started. 424 lifetime saves, good for 5th on the all-time list. And let me just show you how many Mets tickets we have right here. 536 of them. So you can see I've marked the ones that I really want to show you with pieces of paper, but I'm going to show you a few at the start. I did, like I mentioned, sometimes get multiple guys to sign one ticket. Eric Hillman, Jose Rijo, Freddie Benavides. And if you look at this one, Brian Hunter's on the front, and on the back, we have Dave Gallagher, and this guy right here, well, that's Anthony Young, who famously lost 27 consecutive decisions in the early 90s. This one, Doug Simon's on the front, and then on the back, we have several guys, including, once again, John Franco, who is very friendly and signed often. This ticket has 2 different World Series MVPs, Brett Saberhagen and Curt Schilling. And more guys on the back, but we're just gonna keep this moving at a good pace. Tony Fernandez right here, 5-time All-Star, won 4 Gold Gloves. And no, I'm not gonna give you a full bio of everybody, but some I might point out. Like this one, just for example, Frank Tanana, legendary starting pitcher. He threw over 4,000 innings, 3-time All-Star. Just keep it going. So this one right here in the thinner black pen, that's Joe Girardi. We got Jeremy Burnitz, who hit 315 career home runs. Okay, and you know what? Here is our first Hall of Famer within the Mets collection. Mets versus Reds, that's your hint. Shortstop, Barry Larkin. Here we have a couple of guys. This one right here is Bobby Valentine, who managed 3 different teams, the Rangers, Mets, and Red Sox. Now we're gonna skip a whole bunch. All right, this guy right here, we have 2 of him. That is someone who led the American League in hit by pitches 8 times, and he was a manager of the year much later on, Don Baylor. Keep it moving. Here we have Jeff Kent, perhaps a future Hall of Famer. Dante Bichette right there. We have Ken Caminiti, and someone else right here who died way too young. This is Darryl Kyle. Sean Dunston right there, another Hall of Famer. This is Fergie Jenkins, who's one of 4 pitchers ever, by the way, a little trivia for you, who struck out more than 3,000 batters and walked under 1,000. I already showed you someone else among that group in this video, and there's gonna be another one of the 4 coming up later on, so you can think about that. Here we have Sid Fernandez, maybe not a huge household name except to Mets fans, member of the 1986 championship team. Another Hall of Famer who unfortunately signed it upside down. As I mentioned, Sometimes guys turn the tickets around when you hand them to them. But nevertheless, really glad to have this one. You can probably read that one. That is Ralph Kiner, one of the all-time great home run hitters in Major League Baseball. Now this right here is Bobby Bonilla. Mets fans love to hate him because the team owes him still nearly $1.2 million a year through the year 2035, but he was a 6-time All-Star, so let's cut him some slack. This right here is Larry Walker. And, okay, we have a bunch of guys right here. I want to point out the name in the middle because that's Curtis Pride. He was the man. He was 95% hearing impaired, and I actually got him to throw me a few baseballs by waving to get his attention and then asking him for the ball in sign language. And if we look at the back, there are more names. The big one right in the middle, that is Dennis Martinez, the Nicaraguan legend, righty starting pitcher. Now here we have the same guy 3 times, Moises Alou, 6-time All-Star, 303 career batting average. You know, if a good player is just signing and signing and signing, I might just keep getting him. So this is Dallas Green, who managed the Phillies, Yankees, and Mets. Todd Zeile right here. We got Doug Drabeck twice. He was the 1990 National League Cy Young Award winner. I'm just going to scoot the whole stack up closer. All right. Now, older Mets fans will appreciate this name. Starting shortstop on the 1969 Miracle Mets, Bud Harrelson. Won the World Series. Here is Bob Murphy, Hall of Fame announcer. And right here, we have Davey Johnson, who managed the 1986 Mets. He was also a player back in the day. I think he hit 43 home runs in one season, if I'm not mistaken. Here's another manager, Bruce Bochy. And keeping with the Padres, here's a Hall of Famer for you. That is the one and only Tony Gwynn. Raul Mondesi, the 1994 NL Rookie of the Year with the Dodgers. And ready for more Hall of Fame action, not once, but twice. Someone who was on the Dodgers at the time and later ended up playing for the Mets, Mike Piazza. Brett Butler stole over 500 bases in his career. He signed by drawing a little smiley face on the tickets. That was pretty cool. Tim Wallach, 5-time All-Star. We have Dusty Baker right there. And Braves fans will appreciate this. This is Steve Avery, but are you ready for an even better lefty pitcher? Someone who's in the Hall of Fame. You recognize that? Not once, not twice. This is Tom Glavine. Not 3 times, but 4 times got Tom Glavine. So pretty happy about that even all these years later. Next up, we have Terry Pendleton, a former MVP. Here's another Hall of Famer, Gary Carter, who was on the 1986 Mets and had played for the Montreal Expos earlier in his career. Here we have Andres Galarraga twice, 5-time All-Star. He hit 399 career home runs. The Big Cat, as he was known. Okay, here's another Hall of Famer for you. And while you think about this, I'm going to slide the stack down a little bit. Mets versus Expos. Here's the direction in which he signed it. That is Pedro Martinez. Another Hall of Famer right here. You can see that he wrote over the visiting team, but that does say Phillies. An older guy, Richie Ashburn. Here is Bucky Dent, who famously hit a big home run for the Yankees against the Red Sox at Fenway. He had a baseball school down in Florida, and I got to know him there. You can see the two of us. So it was fun to get to know him over the years a little bit. Really cool guy. Here we have Bob Murphy, again, the Hall of Fame announcer. And ready for another Hall of Famer. I don't think anybody has ever said something negative about this dude. One of the true stand-up characters, Trevor Hoffman. Darryl Strawberry. He, too, was on the 1986 Mets, one of my childhood heroes. And we have Bob Murphy yet again, in fact, twice. Unfortunately, this one right over here got a little bit kind of smudged and blurry, but nevertheless, there we have it. This is Willie McGee. He signed this one upside down. He was a stud on the Cardinals, especially back in the 80s. He had his heyday. He and Vince Coleman were terrors on the base paths, I tell you. This is Ray Knight, the third baseman on the 86 Mets. Mike Hampton, good starting pitcher. David Wells, an even better starting pitcher, who, of course, once threw a perfect game. I wish I had been there, but you can't have it all. Here's a couple of guys, and the one underneath is the better of the two, Gary Gaetti. Maybe some of you young kids watching this video don't remember him. This man hit 360 home runs. He was a two-time All-Star and won 4 Gold Gloves. So let's give Gary Gaetti some props. Now this guy, this could be a little bit sad for Mets fans. Paul Wilson. This was his Major League debut, and I had him right, ML debut on it. But unfortunately for him and the entire Mets organization, it didn't quite pan out. John Franco, on the night he got his 300th save. And of course, you can see, had him right, 300 saves on it. And look at this, game times used to begin at 7:40 p.m. You never see games start that late now, except for maybe Sunday Night Baseball. But of course, games last so much longer now, they gotta start them earlier. This guy right here, perhaps not that well known to a lot of you, but very meaningful to me, Pedro Borbon Jr. He threw me my 1000th ball on this date, June 11th, 96, and I got him to sign this, and you can see a picture of me right here at Shea Stadium with my 1000th ball. My God, look at that hair. What was going on? Onward we go to a gentleman named Tony Womack. He and I both attended Guilford College, though not at the same time. Tony Womack led the league in stolen bases 3 years in a row, 1997 to 1999 in the National League. This is Corey Lytle, who died tragically in a plane crash. Hall of Famer right here, Tommy Lasorda. All right, now here we have Vladimir Guerrero, another Hall of Famer, and I have him twice. So there's this one, April 16th, 99, and then later in the season, when the Expos were back, I got him again right there. Ready for another Hall of Famer? Dun, 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 dun. Andre Dawson. Here we have a few guys in the upper left. We have a former World Series MVP, Mike Lowell. Keep this moving. We're going to skip a whole bunch right there. This is David Cone, someone else who pitched a perfect game. And no, I wasn't there either. And yes, I'm pissed off about that. Here we have Juan Pierre. This is another Hall of Famer, Roberto Alomar. And we're going to slide this once again. All right, here's a future Hall of Famer, Miguel Cabrera. And after Miguel Cabrera, we have Dontrell Willis. And Tim Raines, another Hall of Famer. Used to love that guy. Perhaps a future Hall of Famer right here. I showed a couple of his autographs in part 1. Omar Vizquel, 11-time Gold Glove winner at shortstop. The captain, David Wright. And this is where we move past these shorter ticket stubs that were actually torn along the perforated edge from 2004, and we go to 2005 when there were whole tickets with the barcode here that they used to scan. So this is Andy Pettitte. You can see the Astros were there at Shea Stadium. This is Tim Hudson, 200 plus wins, more than 3,000 innings pitched. And we'll keep going right here. This is Mark Grace, stud first baseman. Here is Steve Finley. I always thought he was underrated. He's a member of the 300-300 club, home runs and stolen bases. Not too many other guys can say that. Julio Franco, who famously played until he was 48 years old. Davey Lopes, not sure why he signed it all the way on the left, but he was a 4-time All-Star, stole 500 bases in his career, and went on to be a long-time coach in the majors. Now another name that you guys probably don't know. In fact, if anybody does remember this name, I'll be super impressed. Trent Durrington. He was Australian, member of the 1995 Boise Hawks short season Northwest League. He was just so friendly, and he remembered me 10 years later when I saw him at Shea Stadium, and he signed this to me. So that was pretty cool to run into him again. Roberto Hernandez, he had 300+ saves. This is my favorite guy ever in the major leagues in terms of just how cool he was. Heath Bell. You've probably seen him in a lot of videos on my channel over the years. 3-time All-Star. Next up we have, okay, this is kind of funny. Mets announcer right here, Gary Cohen. I predict he's going to end up in the Hall of Fame someday as an announcer. And look at this. Got him on the front and got him on the back, because why not? Now, after Gary Cohen, we have Jeffrey Loria, the owner of the Marlins. And another meaningful one to me is this right here. It says, to Zack, enjoy the glove, Ryan Spire. He was a righty pitcher on the Rockies, 6'7", and he randomly threw me his glove to keep during batting practice at Shea Stadium, and then I caught up with him later. Super friendly guy. So this is not worth a lot if I were to try to sell it on eBay, but just personally, it means the world to me all these years later. This one says, to Zack, hi, Chris Berman. Chris Berman, of course, is the famous sports announcer who spent a zillion years with ESPN. Here's the captain again, David Wright. And okay, check this out. Jose Reyes, 3 times. Now, why am I so excited about getting Jose Reyes 3 times? Well, June 21st, 2006 is when Jose Reyes hit for the cycle. So I think that's pretty cool to have the guy sign the ticket from the game in which he hit for the cycle. Now, there's a lot of talent on this ticket, front and back. Here we have Nomar Garciaparra, and on the back side, we have Matt Kemp and Andre Ethier. Kind of a weird signature there, but I like it. All right, we're getting toward the end. Here we have Tim Lincecum. That is really not much of a signature right there. And this is Cole Hamels. I don't exactly know what happened here in the corner, but anyway. All right, let's see. To Zack, all the best, Jeff Francoeur, a.k.a. Frenchie. He was doing a signing at a store not too far from my place, so I dressed up in Mets and Braves gear just to see how funny a look he would give me, and it was pretty funny, and we got a photo together, and he was awesome. Love him. Oh, my pieces of paper are hiding right here. All right, so this is Ryan Howard. Philly fans love to complain about him, but let's not forget he hit 198 home runs in a 4-year span, nearly averaged 50 homers a year for 4 years. And you can see right here, we transitioned from Shea Stadium in 2008 to Citi Field in 2009, and the tickets hardly even changed at all in their design. So this one right here is Cliff Floyd, and you can see the design did change a little bit after that. We'll just flip through quickly to get to the end. This is Gio Gonzalez a couple of times, and this is Patrick Corbin right here. So that's pretty much it. Vic Black signed one to me for the Mets, and you can see that brings us right up to the Nationals, which I will begin in part 3 of this video series. And just to wrap this up quickly for you guys, again, if you haven't yet seen part 1, check the description for this video because you'll find a link there that goes directly to it. And you know what? I'm actually thinking that this might be a 4-part series. In part 1, I was sure that it was going to be 3, but now I'm thinking I might actually want to slow it down a bit and show more tickets in each video rather than rushing through the last part of the alphabet. But the point is, when I do film and post part 3 and maybe part 4, I will throw those links in this description as well, so you can watch all these parts back to back to back to back. We'll see. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and stay tuned for part 3 coming on my channel very, very soon.